The surface of a still pond looks silent at first glance, its mirror-smooth skin broken only by the trembling reflection of reeds and clouds. But beneath that calm is a language few creatures can read. From above, the camera glides low, following a single water strider as it skims effortlessly across the meniscus, a creature balanced on the threshold between two worlds. Its long, spindly legs are spread wide like compass arms, each tipped with countless microscopic hairs coated in water-repelling wax. To the naked eye, the insect seems weightless, but in truth it is standing upon a lattice of surface tension strong enough to hold it afloat. The dimples beneath its feet shimmer like soft craters, visible proof of invisible physics at work. Every movement of those legs creates a ripple, and every ripple carries meaning. In the microcosm of the pond, the water's surface acts as both a floor and a field of communication. To the water strider, it is a giant resonant drum, transmitting vibrations from every corner of the liquid world. What appears as random rings to human eyes are actually structured signals, pulses, beats, and coded rhythms that convey intent, emotion, and strategy. Scientists call this ripple communication, but within the realm of the Geridae, it functions more like a refined Morse code, a language made not of sound, but of motion upon liquid glass. When a male water strider spots a female drifting nearby, he begins to drum. Using his middle pair of legs, he sends out a pattern of rapid, rhythmic pulses, a kind of courtship song that can travel several body lengths. The vibrations spread out in precise, concentric waves, their amplitude and frequency calibrated by instinct to convey his species, his vigor, and his interest. The female reads these messages through the sensory hairs on her own legs, able to distinguish subtle differences in timing and strength. A slightly longer pause between beats, and the message changes entirely, from courtship to aggression, from invitation to warning. The sensitivity of these insects to ripple language is astonishing. In laboratory experiments, researchers found that water striders can detect the difference between a courting male, a struggling prey insect, and an approaching predator purely from the pattern of vibrations. Their ears are their feet, each one lined with thousands of fine mechanoreceptors tuned to the surface tension's smallest changes. Even the splash of a falling leaf creates a recognizable signal, one that the strider instantly categorizes as harmless background noise. To survive in this mirrored world, it must filter the pond's constant chatter, distinguishing life from randomness with remarkable precision. The structure that allows such mastery lies in the strider's foot design. Each leg terminates in a pad of microhairs so densely packed that air becomes permanently trapped between them. This cushion of air not only keeps the insect buoyant, but also prevents water adhesion, allowing it to skim at high speed without ever breaking the surface film. The hairs act as both flotation devices and sensory amplifiers, translating even faint ripples into information. When viewed under a microscope, these hairs resemble miniature forests, each hair standing erect to hold the insect aloft, like a hovercraft balanced on millions of invisible pillars. During the breeding season, the pond surface becomes a network of intersecting ripples, a cacophony of coded knocks and waves. Territorial males patrol patches of water with obsessive vigilance, their bodies angled forward like skaters chasing an invisible opponent. Should another male intrude, the first sends a rapid burst of staccato pulses, sharp, aggressive beats that ripple outward like warning drums. The rival often responds in kind, and the two may circle each other, exchanging volleys of waterborne sound until one backs down. No physical combat is needed. The ripples themselves declare dominance. Yet sometimes the tension escalates into a violent chase, the victor claiming the stillness left in the loser's wake. But the same language used for courtship and combat also serves for survival. One of the water strider's keenest adaptations is its ability to detect distress ripples, the erratic, frantic vibrations produced when another insect falls into the water. To the strider, this is the dinner bell. The camera follows as a mosquito, newly emerged from its pupal shell, loses footing and collapses onto the surface. It thrashes helplessly, sending chaotic waves in every direction. Instantly, the nearby strider pivots, its legs slicing across the film with minimal drag, The trajectory of each ripple guides it closer, like sonar beams tracing the source. In mere seconds, the predator reaches its prey and strikes, piercing the mosquito's exoskeleton with a needle-fine beak. It injects digestive enzymes that liquefy the internal tissues, then sucks the meal dry, leaving behind only the empty husk. What appears as casual grace is, in truth, an act of predatory precision. Even this hunt, brutal in its efficiency, reflects a deeper ecological rhythm. The water strider serves as a regulator of the pond's microfauna, keeping populations of midges and mosquitoes in check. Its predation maintains the balance between surface dwellers and aerial visitors, preventing outbreaks that could destabilize the entire aquatic food web. Yet the strider, too, must remain vigilant. Larger predators, fish, amphibians, and dragonfly nymphs, lurk below, watching for shadows that move along the ceiling of their watery world. A single misstep, a broken ripple, or a leg that dips too deeply could spell instant death. To counter this, the Geridai's movements are astonishingly efficient. They accelerate by flicking their middle legs backward in a motion that produces just enough thrust without disturbing the surface tension more than necessary. This is known as the rowing gait, and it operates according to principles of hydrodynamic optimization. Tiny vortices form behind each stroke, giving the insect a momentary boost, a miniature analog of the wake produced by a canoe. The strider's long legs and narrow body maximize its surface area while minimizing drag, allowing it to reach speeds that, in scale, rival the fastest terrestrial predators on Earth. If a human could move proportionally as fast across water, they would be sprinting at nearly 70 kilometers per hour. But evolution has not only perfected mechanics here, it has also sculpted behavior to match physics. When the wind rises and the pond's surface begins to tremble, the striders shift into sheltered zones where reeds and floating leaves reduce turbulence. Their community operates as a fluid society, individuals constantly aware of the invisible network of vibrations linking them. If a frog's tongue snaps nearby or a fish breaks the surface, the entire colony freezes, the ripples vanishing into tense stillness. Then, after a few heartbeats, the first tentative pulses resume, cautious communication that reaffirms safety. To observers above, the scene is serene, almost meditative. But to the striders, every second on the surface is a dialogue between danger and opportunity, written in concentric circles that radiate and fade like whispered messages. Their ripple morse is both ancient and ephemeral, a code that vanishes as quickly as it's spoken, leaving behind no trace except the survival of those who understand it. In the grand mosaic of evolution, the water strider stands as a reminder that intelligence does not require a brain shaped like ours, nor communication a voice we can hear. It exists wherever life finds a medium to express itself, air, light, or liquid tension. For the Geridai, the pond's surface is not just habitat, it is language, battlefield, and stage all at once. And as the camera pulls back, we see their world for what it truly is, a living Morse code of motion, where silence speaks volumes, and every ripple tells a story millions of years in the making. The forest air trembles before the eye even registers motion. It begins as a faint hum, a vibration barely perceptible beneath the drone of heat and wind. Then, like the steady rising of a tide, the sound swells into an overwhelming electric wave that fills every pocket of air and every chamber of the ear. Cicadas, hundreds, perhaps thousands, have begun their synchronized symphony. Their song saturates the landscape, bouncing off trunks, leaves, and soil, until the forest itself seems to buzz with life. In this sonic flood, the boundaries between individual calls dissolve. What remains is a single pulsing organism made entirely of sound. To the casual listener, the noise might seem chaotic, even oppressive. But inside the chorus lies structure, a rhythm guided by anatomy, temperature, and instinct. Each male cicada produces his call not through vocal cords, but through a pair of specialized membranes known as tymbals located on either side of the abdomen. When the insect flexes its internal muscles, these tymbals buckle inward with a sharp click. As they snap back into shape, they produce another. This happens dozens of times per second, so rapidly that the separate beats blend into a continuous tone. The abdomen's hollow chambers act as resonating amplifiers, turning the tiny body into a biological loudspeaker. The sound, though created by an insect scarcely the size of a human thumb, can reach intensities comparable to a chainsaw, exceeding 100 decibels at close range. Yet the cicada's song is not a simple call for attention, it is a broadcast of survival and selection. Each note carries information about species, sex, and readiness to mate. Females recognize males of their kind through the precise frequency and rhythm of the call. Even subtle deviations can render a singer unrecognizable. In regions where multiple cicada species emerge together, acoustic partitioning, the division of sonic space, prevents confusion. Each species occupies its own frequency range, ensuring that courtship signals remain distinct despite the deafening overlap. From an evolutionary standpoint, this intense soundscape is both a marvel and a gamble. The very strategy that attracts mates also invites predators. Birds, bats, mantises, and even parasitic flies have learned to home in on the vibrations, tracing them back to the source. To offset this danger, cicadas rely on safety in overwhelming numbers, a phenomenon called predator satiation. When millions emerge within the same brief window, predators can only consume a fraction. The rest survive long enough to reproduce, ensuring the species' continuity. The forest becomes, for a few short weeks, a living feast and a desperate race against time. Cicadas are finely tuned to their environment, and their rhythm is inseparable from temperature. Each muscle contraction that buckles a timbre depends on thermal energy, meaning that the pace of their song rises and falls with the heat of the day. As the sun climbs, the air temperature increases, and the forest's pitch climbs with it. Each degree amplifies their tempo, transforming the morning's measured buzz into the midday's fevered roar. When the air cools at dusk, the rhythm slackens, fading into sporadic bursts before falling silent. The cicada's song is, in essence, a thermometer made audible, a reflection of the thermal pulse of the world around it. But nature's concert is not without its interruptions. Midway through a blazing summer afternoon, the camera lingers on a canopy trembling with life. The sound is so dense it feels physical, pressing against the eardrum. Then, without warning, a bank of clouds drifts across the sun. The light dims, the temperature drops by a few degrees, and the forest's energy shifts. Almost instantly, the chorus falters. One by one, voices fade. The collective hum collapses into hesitant clicks, scattered and unsure. The predators, attuned to these shifts, sense opportunity. A pair of starlings, which moments before could not isolate a single target within the wall of noise, now detect the weakening rhythm. They dive through the branches, snapping up the slower, less alert cicadas. For a brief window, silence favors the hunter. When the sun returns and the heat surges back, the survivors resume their rhythm as if nothing happened. It is a reminder that the cicada's sound is more than communication. It is a heartbeat tied directly to the planet's warmth. The thermodynamics of their bodies dictate the tempo of their culture. In cooler weather, they become sluggish. In the peak of summer, they enter acoustic overdrive. This link between biology and temperature forms one of the most direct examples of thermal regulation shaping animal behavior. The cicada's life before this sonic bloom is one of near total silence. For most of its existence, years, sometimes over a decade depending on the species, it lives underground as a nymph, feeding slowly on root sap. There it grows in darkness, sensing the passing of seasons through subtle changes in soil temperature and moisture. When the time comes, a final molting brings it to the surface. The newly emerged adult climbs the nearest trunk, hardens its wings, and joins the chorus. All of its energy, stored through years of subterranean feeding, is poured into a few fleeting weeks of sound. Every part of its anatomy is adapted to this singular purpose. The large veined wings act not just for flight, but for sound projection, reflecting and directing the timbre's output. The abdomen's internal air sacs, in some species, are so perfectly shaped that engineers have studied them for clues to improve acoustic amplification in small devices. The insect's neural system is equally optimized, allowing it to synchronize its calls with neighbors through a process of auditory feedback. Each male adjusts his rhythm in response to those nearby, creating waves of sound that pulse across the forest like synchronized strobes. This behavior, known as chorus synchronization, ensures that females are bombarded by signals from all directions, maximizing reproductive success for the group, even as individuals lose distinct identity within the crowd. What makes this synchronization remarkable is its emergent intelligence. No cicada leads or conducts. The pattern arises naturally from feedback and adjustment. When one begins, another follows, and soon the rhythm stabilizes at a frequency that benefits all participants. This form of collective timing is seen elsewhere in nature, in fireflies that flash in unison, in frog choruses that merge into single tones. But the cicadas' version is among the loudest and most physically dominant. The forest literally vibrates with consensus. For predators, the sound is both a challenge and an opportunity. Some birds evolve temporal hunting strategies, timing their breeding seasons to coincide with cicada emergences. Others, like the cicada killer wasp, specialize entirely in capturing them. The wasp's approach is a study in precision. It locates a calling male, stings it to paralyze, then drags the heavy body into a burrow where it becomes food for a developing larva. Even parasitic flies exploit the cicada's song. A female fly, upon detecting the frequency of a calling male, homes in and deposits larvae directly onto the singer's body. Within minutes, the larvae burrow into the cicada, consuming it from within, a grim reminder that every broadcast in nature is heard by friend and foe alike. Yet despite such dangers, the strategy endures. Across continents and centuries, the same cycle repeats. Years of waiting, followed by weeks of deafening life. Evolution favors abundance over stealth. The sheer volume of emergence overwhelms predation and guarantees continuation. When the chorus finally ends and silence returns, their husks cling to trees like brittle echoes of the storm that passed. In ecological terms, cicadas play a critical role beyond their noise. Their mass deaths enrich the soil with nitrogen, fueling new plant growth. Their tunnels aerate the ground, improving root health for future vegetation. Even in death, their influence continues, a full-circle contribution that links underground and canopy, silence and sound, decay and renewal. As the camera pans out over the cooling forest, the last of the calls fade into dusk. The once deafening soundscape now hums only faintly, a residual vibration lingering like memory in the air. What remains is not absence, but balance, a temporary pause before the next generation stirs beneath the soil, counting the invisible calendar of heat and rain. The cicada's legacy is written not in color or flight, but in vibration, the physics of life amplified into existence. Its song, brief yet overwhelming, turns the forest into a living amplifier of biology itself, a place where every pulse is a declaration of being, and every note a reminder that even the smallest voice can shake the world when it sings in unison. The rainforest hums with the steady rhythm of unseen industry. Beneath the canopy, where shafts of green light fall through drifting mist, the forest floor is in constant motion, a choreography of tiny architects hauling fragments of the world above their heads. Each piece of leaf, freshly cut and perfectly arched, catches a glimmer of sunlight as it passes through the air like a living mosaic. The carriers are leafcutter ants, and their endless procession forms one of the most sophisticated traffic systems in nature, an invisible network of chemical highways laid down in pheromones so precise that not a single worker strays from its lane. From a distance, the lines of movement look chaotic, streams of bodies weaving between roots, crossing stones, curving through shadows. But zoom in and the chaos reveals order. Each ant belongs to a caste, and each caste has a role as strict as any human workforce. At the forefront are the foragers, scouts tasked with locating the freshest vegetation. Behind them march the cutters, using their powerful mandibles to slice clean discs of leaf tissue with machine-like rhythm. Then come the carriers, lifting the pieces above their heads and balancing them like sails as they begin the long trek home. Along the edges of the columns, smaller workers patrol the sides, maintaining pheromone lines, a task as crucial as road repair. Every few steps, one of these workers pauses to lower its antennae and touch the ground. With that delicate motion, it both reads and reinforces the chemical message beneath its feet. The pheromone trail, secreted from glands near the abdomen, evaporates quickly in the humid air. Without constant renewal, it would vanish, leaving confusion and lost laborers. So each returning ant adds a drop of the compound to strengthen the signal, ensuring that the path remains vivid and continuous. The concentration of pheromones along a route determines its importance. Stronger trails indicate efficient pathways to high-quality resources, while weaker ones fade into obscurity. It is, in effect, a living feedback system, one that balances exploration and exploitation with mathematical precision. If an obstacle appears, a fallen twig, a patch of water, or a sudden hole, the flow of traffic halts for only moments. The front workers scatter, seeking alternate routes, and when one finds a detour that reconnects to the main path, it immediately reinforces that new section with pheromone. Within minutes, hundreds of ants follow, strengthening the signal with every step. The colony has rerouted itself, a process that in algorithmic terms mirrors the shortest path optimizations that human engineers later encoded into computer models. Long before mathematics formalized the concept, leafcutter ants had evolved it through natural selection. The camera pans across the forest floor as the sunlight catches the glossy leaves moving in waves, a river of green carrying its own current. Among the carriers, smaller figures cling to the edges of the leaf fragments, tiny amber-colored guards known as minims. These are the colony's micro-bodyguards, no larger than a grain of rice, riding atop the leaves to defend against airborne parasites. In particular, they ward off phorid flies, whose larvae can devastate ant populations by burrowing into their heads and consuming them from within. The minims stand sentry with jaws raised, scanning the air. When a fly attempts to land, they lunge forward, biting and fending it off before it can deposit its egg. These miniature guardians often go unnoticed by the casual observer, yet their vigilance is essential to the success of every convoy. Back within the nest, a subterranean fortress stretching meters deep and containing millions of individuals, the air grows humid and warm. The walls are lined with chambers, each one dedicated to a specific purpose. Nurseries, waste vaults, and at the heart of it all, the fungus gardens. Here lies the true engine of the colony's survival. Contrary to appearance, leafcutter ants are not leaf eaters at all. They are farmers, cultivating a particular species of fungus that converts leaf matter into digestible nutrients. Each ant in the system, from cutter to caretaker, plays a role in feeding this subterranean crop. The leaves brought from above are chewed into a soft pulp, then inoculated with fungal spores. Over time, the white mycelium spreads across the substrate, producing swollen nodules rich in sugars and proteins, the primary food for the colony's larvae. Maintaining this agricultural operation demands both precision and hygiene. The fungal cultivar is highly specialized, dependent on the ants for protection from pests and contamination. To defend their gardens from invasive molds and bacteria, the workers deploy a remarkable form of biological armor. Their bodies are streaked with patches of white filaments, symbiotic actinobacteria that grow along their exoskeletons, particularly on the shoulders and forelegs. These bacterial colonies produce potent antibiotic compounds that suppress unwanted microbes. It is, in effect, a living pharmaceutical system, cultivated and passed down from generation to generation. The ants groom these patches meticulously, ensuring the right balance of bacteria and redistributing them through contact. This symbiosis has persisted for millions of years, predating human agriculture by a vast margin. The actinobacteria are the colony's unseen chemical police, maintaining microbial order in the same way pheromones maintain road discipline above ground. Inside the fungal chambers, smaller workers move constantly, trimming diseased sections of fungus and carrying the waste to designated disposal sites, refuse gardens located far from the main network. These waste dumps are guarded by specialized workers to prevent contamination from re-entering the core. Even here, hierarchy and hygiene intersect seamlessly. Every action is governed by invisible cues, primarily chemical. A sick or contaminated ant releases a slightly altered pheromone profile that signals others to avoid it, an instinctive quarantine that prevents disease spread. Such self-regulating mechanisms demonstrate a level of collective intelligence that functions without centralized control, a biological analog to a self-healing network. Above ground, the highway continues to pulse with life. Traffic flows in dual streams, laden workers returning home along one side of the trail and empty ones marching outward along the other. This division minimizes collisions, a feature of efficient road systems worldwide, yet here achieved purely through evolutionary behavior. At junctions where multiple trails converge, temporary congestion occurs, but the ants instinctively yield and weave in patterns that maximize flow. Studies have shown that the speed and density of traffic adjust automatically based on the concentration of pheromone and the frequency of encounters. When paths become overcrowded, workers slow their pace, reducing collisions and preserving the colony's overall efficiency. It is an emergent form of traffic control born entirely from local interactions, requiring no overseer, no leader, only chemistry and instinct. As the day warms, evaporation accelerates. Pheromone molecules break down more quickly, demanding constant reinforcement. Scouts continuously refresh older trails or abandon them if resource quality declines. This dynamic adjustment prevents the colony from wasting energy on depleted sites. New paths are always emerging while old ones fade, a biological expression of optimization and renewal. In this, the ants embody a principle fundamental to life itself: adapt or vanish. When rain begins to fall, the forest darkens and droplets spatter the leaf columns. The first heavy drops disrupt the surface of the pheromone lines, temporarily erasing sections of the highway. But the ants do not panic. They retreat to the shelter of roots and fallen logs, waiting until the deluge eases. As soon as the ground stabilizes, foragers venture out again, testing the soil with their antennae. Within minutes, the roots are redrawn, the network reborn. Nature's most enduring engineers waste no time mourning what is lost. They simply rebuild. At dusk, when the last carriers disappear underground, the trail remains faintly visible, not through scent, but through wear. The soil along the path is smoother, the vegetation clipped, forming natural corridors that can persist for years. These enduring roots link trees, feeding zones, and water sources, expanding the colony's influence across vast territories. From an aerial view, it resembles a neural network, a green brain etched into the forest floor, conducting the metabolism of an ecosystem. What appears at first as mere insect persistence reveals something more profound. The leafcutter ant colony is a distributed intelligence, operating on feedback loops, resource sharing, and chemical communication that mirrors the structure of living systems at every scale. From individual neurons to human societies, the same principles echo: signaling, coordination, redundancy, and repair. In the ants' world, order is maintained not by command, but by communication, a humbler, older form of logic that predates speech, writing, or machines. As the camera lingers on the final carriers descending into the earth, each holding a fragment of leaf larger than its own body, the narration settles into quiet awe. Beneath the surface in the dim fungal gardens, the colony hums softly with activity. Above ground, the pheromone highways fade into night, their chemical scent dissolving into the cool forest air. But by dawn they will rise again, rebuilt molecule by molecule, signal by signal, a living proof that organization need not come from consciousness to achieve perfection. Under the shadowed lip of a rooftop, a paper fortress hangs like a suspended organ of instinct, its layered walls glinting faintly in the afternoon light. This is no human construction, but a wasp city, an aerial republic sculpted from chewed wood and saliva, its cells humming with the rhythm of order and survival. Each hexagonal chamber cradles a developing larva, each corridor echoes with the vibrations of wings and the chemistry of communication. What looks from a distance like chaos, hundreds of wasps spiraling in and out, antennae twitching, bodies crossing paths in ceaseless flight, is in truth a precisely tuned society governed by scent, temperature, and shared vigilance. The structure itself begins humbly. A single queen, fresh from winter hibernation, lands beneath an eave or branch and scrapes fibers from dead wood. She mixes them with saliva until they become a grayish pulp, pliable as paper. From this she molds a thin stalk, then a cup, then a ring of hexagons. Over weeks, the solitary foundress becomes an architect, nurse, and hunter all at once. Her first brood, sterile female workers, hatch and take up her burden. They expand the comb into a labyrinth of cells, each layer a new tier in the growing city. Soon the nest hums with stratified order, larvae below, workers along the outer envelope, guards at the entrances, and the queen ensconced deep within. To the human eye, this miniature metropolis appears silent, yet within it, communication never ceases. The wasps speak not through sound but through chemistry, invisible signals carried on air currents and skin. Each worker exudes a unique cocktail of pheromones, molecular signatures that reveal identity, task, and emotional state. Some sense calm, others rally, and one in particular turns the colony into a storm. It is the alarm pheromone, a volatile compound released in milliseconds whenever a wasp senses a threat. The moment this chemical touches the air, the city transforms. The nearest guards snap to attention, their antennae whipping side to side as the signal spreads through the nest like radio static. The alarm system is more precise than mere chaos. Researchers have discovered that the concentration and composition of the pheromone convey specific meanings. A trace release from a returning forager signals mild agitation, perhaps a nearby predator. A concentrated burst, especially one smeared onto an attacker's skin or clothing, functions as a target beacon. To wasps, that scent becomes the definition of danger, and they respond with organized fury. This is why a single careless swat near a nest can escalate so quickly. The crushed body of one wasp releases a flood of alarm pheromones, marking the intruder as an active threat. Within seconds, dozens converge, guided by scent rather than sight, each one zeroing in with absolute precision. Inside the nest, the scent of alarm causes physiological shifts. The workers' flight muscles tense, their heart rates increase, and their vision sharpens. In many species, such as the common paper wasp, Polistes dominula, individuals can even modulate aggression levels depending on the pheromone mix, a complex feedback loop between brain chemistry and environmental cues. This chemical radio ensures that defense is swift, collective, and proportionate. It is the colony's version of a siren, one that requires no central control. Beyond defense, these wasps are tireless foragers and builders. Each day, workers venture across wide radii, scraping wood fibers from fences, logs, or sheds. Their mandibles work with astonishing efficiency, stripping cellulose and returning it to the nest, where it is rehydrated into construction paste. The resulting paper walls are remarkably durable and lightweight, able to maintain structural integrity through wind and rain. At the same time, foragers hunt live prey, usually caterpillars, soft-bodied and nutrient-rich. The scene unfolds on a summer morning. A worker hovers among green leaves, her compound eyes flicking between potential targets. Below her, a caterpillar inches along a stem, its segmented body oblivious to the approaching danger. The wasp dives, grappling the prey with her legs while driving her stinger forward with surgical precision. The venom paralyzes instantly, halting the caterpillar mid-motion. Yet the wasp does not kill. Instead, she chews through the soft tissue, dividing the body into manageable fragments that can be carried back to the nest. There, the protein-rich paste becomes food for the developing larvae, which in turn secrete a sugary liquid that adults feed on. This exchange, larvae providing carbohydrates, adults delivering protein, is a form of trophallaxis, a reciprocal economy that sustains the entire colony. Every act of predation above ground translates into nourishment below the eaves. The ecological role of wasps is both misunderstood and indispensable. By hunting herbivorous insects, they regulate plant-eating populations and maintain the balance of ecosystems. A single paper wasp colony can remove thousands of caterpillars and flies over the course of a summer, functioning as an organic pest control system. Their influence extends far beyond the walls of their nests, shaping plant health and even the success of pollinators that share the same habitats. Despite their fearsome reputation, wasps are not inherently aggressive. Their stingers are tools of last resort, reserved for defense when their chemical alarms are triggered. For humans sharing space with these paper cities, coexistence depends on understanding the cues that wasps respond to. The simplest rule: remain still. Rapid movement and vibration mimic the disturbances caused by predators and can activate the alarm network. Standing close to a nest or blocking the wasp's flight paths raises the probability of triggering defensive behavior. Perfumes, hairsprays, and dark clothing can also attract attention, as some of these scents and colors overlap with natural signals of threat or prey. The most dangerous mistake is to swat. Crushing a wasp not only releases alarm pheromones, but marks the human with the colony's own definition of enemy, a molecular target that can persist for minutes in warm air. Calm withdrawal, on the other hand, usually resets the situation. Wasps, once the chemical air clears, return quickly to their tasks. Inside the nest, life continues with meticulous rhythm. Workers feed larvae by regurgitating masticated prey, while others fan their wings to ventilate the brood chambers. Temperature regulation is vital. The developing young require consistent warmth. On cooler mornings, workers gather at the entrance to bask in sunlight, then return inside to share the heat through conduction. In extreme temperatures, they deposit droplets of water within the nest and fan to create evaporative cooling, an elegant demonstration of thermoregulation achieved without conscious planning. The nest breathes, heats, and cools as a living organism, responding to environmental shifts through the collective behavior of its inhabitants. Even cleanliness is chemically managed. Waste is removed to specific disposal zones away from the brood. Dead individuals are carried outside to prevent bacterial buildup. The constant contact among workers allows for the distribution of antimicrobial compounds naturally produced on their exoskeletons, a communal immune system sustained through grooming. The result is a city that, despite its fragility, can endure months of wind, rain, and predation. As the season wanes and the first cold nights arrive, the workers slow. The queen ceases to lay eggs, and new males and fertile females, the future queens, emerge. These will mate, then seek sheltered crevices to overwinter, carrying with them the genetic memory of the colony. The rest, including the workers that once guarded, built, and fought, will perish as temperatures drop. By spring, only the hibernating queens remain, ready to found new paper cities and replay the cycle. Viewed through the lens of natural order, the wasp's world is not one of aggression, but of efficiency. Its society is an orchestra of molecules and instincts, an unbroken thread of communication that unites builders, hunters, and defenders under one invisible code. Their alarm pheromones, so often feared, are simply the colony's voice raised in unison, a chemical language evolved to protect life, not to threaten it. In the end, the hum beneath the eaves is less a warning than a reminder that even the smallest societies possess forms of governance, architecture, and defense as intricate as our own. Their alarm radio is a broadcast from nature's oldest frequency, one that speaks of cooperation, vigilance, and the enduring intelligence of instinct. Morning light drifts through the canopy, filtering into shifting golds and greens. Between the trees, something catches, a faint shimmer, a trick of the eye that seems to hover in mid-air. As the camera glides closer, the illusion resolves into the geometry of a web, a massive, circular lattice glowing faintly with amber light. Each strand catches the sun and refracts it differently, some almost invisible, others radiating a warm hue like diluted honey. This is the architectural masterpiece of the golden silk orb-weaver, an engineer of light whose creations are both traps and advertisements. The web's unusual color is no accident. The silk of Trichonephila clavipes and its relatives is laced with pigments and proteins that reflect ultraviolet wavelengths, a spectrum invisible to humans but dazzling to many insects. Bees, flies, and butterflies, Creatures whose eyes evolved to perceive the world through UV sensitivity are irresistibly drawn to the glimmer. To them, the web mimics the spectral signature of fresh flowers or sunlit foliage, a glowing billboard suspended in the forest. Where most spiders strive to make their snares invisible, the orb-weaver does the opposite. It flaunts them, broadcasting its presence as bait. The physics behind this deception is intricate. Each thread of the golden web is composed of two silk types, a rigid dragline core that forms the structure and a sticky spiral that ensnares prey. The proteins in the sticky strands scatter UV light, while the golden hue filters the rest, blending the web into both shadow and brightness depending on angle. This optical duality means the web can appear nearly transparent from one direction and luminous from another, allowing it to lure prey while remaining hidden from predators like birds. The orb-weaver has, through millions of years of trial and error, tuned its material science to a level of sophistication that rivals human optics. At the web's center, the spider rests motionless, her long legs spread across radial threads like a conductor poised over a stringed instrument.
The female is large, her abdomen the size of a grape, legs banded in gold and black.
Around her, the radial lines converge like spokes of a wheel, each strand connected to her body through specialized claws that register the slightest tremor. Every vibration that passes through this network carries information, the size of the intruder, its struggle pattern, even its exact location. The spider's sense of touch is so refined that she can distinguish between the wing beats of a small gnat and the desperate thrashing of a trapped beetle. To test this sensitivity, scientists have measured the frequencies produced by different insects striking the web. The spider interprets these signals instantly, deciding whether to attack, repair, or ignore. A light buzz, short and sharp, might be dismissed as debris. A sustained, irregular pulse signals a live catch. In moments, she pivots along the radial lines, her movement guided entirely by vibration rather than sight. With practiced precision, she lunges toward the epicenter of struggle, bites once, and delivers venom calibrated to immobilize but not destroy. The prey will remain alive long enough for digestive enzymes to begin their work. This silent communication through vibration extends beyond hunting. It governs nearly every interaction in the orb-weaver's world. The web itself is not merely a tool, but an extension of the spider's nervous system, an external sensory grid that translates movement into meaning. When wind gusts through the forest, the spider interprets the vibrations differently, distinguishing environmental noise from biological motion. The web thus functions as both radar and amplifier, a living broadcast network tuned to the frequencies of survival. And yet, amid this architecture of predation, another kind of drama unfolds: courtship. Somewhere along the outer frame of the web, a much smaller figure hesitates. The male golden silk orb-weaver is a fraction of the female's size, delicate, almost inconspicuous. His world is defined by risk. To approach the female's web is to step into the threshold of potential death. The vibrations that signal prey are dangerously similar to those that announce his arrival. A single misstep, one wrong tremor across the silk, and he may be mistaken for food. To navigate this lethal tightrope, the male relies on a code as subtle as any in nature. He begins by plucking the strands gently, producing a rhythmic pattern distinct from the erratic frequencies of prey. Each pulse is deliberate, spaced with mathematical precision to communicate identity rather than threat. The female senses the vibration but does not move. Her stillness is its own form of attention. The male advances slowly, repeating the sequence with minute variations, a negotiation written in tension and tremor. Scientists studying this behavior have likened it to a handshake protocol in computing, a verification process ensuring both parties recognize one another before contact. As the male draws closer, he must navigate the hub's central threads without triggering an attack reflex. The female's massive form looms above him, her chelicerae poised, her body twitching in faint response to the vibrations. If she accepts him, the courtship continues with a gentle tapping of legs and the release of pheromones, another layer of communication that seals the contract. If she does not, the outcome is immediate and fatal. In some cases, even successful mating ends with the female consuming the male, replenishing her energy for the next generation. Evolution's logic is ruthless but efficient. Every act of life here serves the propagation of form. The web's design changes throughout the day, adapting to both light and prey activity. In the morning, when diurnal insects are most active, the silk's golden hue is at its brightest. As sunlight shifts, the spider may dismantle and rebuild portions of the structure to maintain optical efficiency, recycling the silk by consuming old threads. This self-sustaining economy conserves resources while maintaining a functional trap. By nightfall, when fewer UV-sensitive insects fly, the orb-weaver often retreats to a nearby perch, remaining connected to the web by a single signal line. Through this anchor thread, she can monitor activity even in darkness, every flutter of a moth or brush of a leaf transmitted through the taut line to her resting claws. In ecological terms, the golden silk orb-weaver occupies a critical position as both predator and prey. Her webs regulate insect populations that might otherwise overwhelm vegetation, while her body feeds birds, lizards, and parasitic wasps that exploit her eggs. Even her abandoned webs become microhabitats, catching debris that later decomposes into nutrients for ground-dwelling organisms. The spider's presence thus ripples through the food web, an invisible network extending far beyond the threads she spins. The material itself, the silk, remains one of nature's engineering marvels. Weight for weight, it rivals steel in tensile strength while remaining flexible enough to stretch by a third of its length without breaking. Its proteins align into crystalline nanostructures that dissipate energy efficiently, allowing the web to absorb impacts from flying insects without tearing. Human engineers have long studied this silk for potential applications, from biodegradable sutures to ballistic fabrics. Yet no synthetic fiber has fully replicated its balance of strength and elasticity. The orb-weaver's achievement stands as a testament to evolutionary craftsmanship refined over millions of years. Back at the web, sunlight shifts again, and the golden glow deepens toward amber. A wasp blunders into the lower spiral, thrashing violently. The vibrations cascade through the web's radial lines, each strand resonating with complex overtones. Instantly, the spider reacts. Her legs vibrate in short bursts as she measures amplitude and direction. She moves not toward the wasp's center of struggle, but along a calculated detour, using tension differentials to avoid damaging the web's load-bearing sections. The strike is precise, the venom immediate. Within seconds, the wasp's movement slow, its wings folding in surrender. The spider binds it in silk, a process that seems both mechanical and graceful, wrapping the prey into a sealed package that will be consumed later. As evening descends, the forest cools, and the web's glow fades into translucence. The spider remains motionless at its center, the day's work done, surrounded by the faint hum of trapped insects and the lingering resonance of its own architecture. For a brief moment, the web mirrors the night sky above, radial lines like constellations, intersections like stars, a delicate cosmos woven by instinct and sustained by light. The golden silk orb-weaver's brilliance lies not just in her color or craftsmanship, but in her mastery of signal. She has turned sunlight into lure, vibration into language, and architecture into survival. Her web is both a hunting tool and a communication system, an organic antenna broadcasting and receiving the invisible frequencies of life. And in that shimmering golden net, stretched between two branches in the quiet morning air, lies the perfect union of art and function, evolution's own radiant advertisement. In a meadow at the height of summer, the air hums with the layered pulse of life. Grass stems sway in slow motion beneath the weight of dew, and the light itself seems to shimmer as it breaks through the trembling blades. Suspended between them, at the exact intersection of shade and sun, hangs a structure that looks almost too deliberate to be chance, a perfect orb web, luminous and geometric, its silk strung like harp strings across the green expanse. But at its center, bisecting the symmetry with a bold white streak, lies a puzzle that has confounded biologists for more than a century. The stabilimentum, a zigzag ribbon of silk stitched into the heart of the wasp spider's trap. The spider herself waits motionless behind it, Argiope bruenici, the wasp spider, named for her warning colors of yellow, white, and black. She hangs in cruciform posture, legs extended in an X, her striped abdomen vivid against the pale band. To an untrained eye, she looks like part of the pattern, an extension of her own handiwork. But to the many scientists who have studied her, the stabilimentum is one of nature's most enduring riddles. Why does she weave this bright, conspicuous feature into an otherwise invisible web? Some claim the zigzag functions as a lure. Under ultraviolet light, the stabilimentum shines with an intensity rivaling that of flower petals. Diurnal insects, bees, flies, grasshoppers, possess vision tuned to the UV spectrum, and to them the web's center appears as a radiant beacon. Drawn toward the glow, they collide with the trap before recognizing the deception. From this perspective, the stabilimentum is not decoration but advertisement, a spectral billboard announcing false nectar. Yet the theory has its detractors. If the web is so visible to insects, would it not also betray its maker to birds and wasp predators? Another school of thought proposes a different function, defense. The bold zigzag, easily seen by large animals, may serve as a warning flag to prevent accidental destruction. Grazing mammals like deer or livestock often trample webs unintentionally. The bright silk could signal danger or simply obstacle in the visual language of movement. In this view, the stabilimentum is an act of insurance, trading some loss of stealth for structural longevity. A third explanation turns from communication to mechanics. Perhaps the zigzag acts as a reinforcement beam, a thickened core that stabilizes the web's tension under stress. Studies using artificial wind and vibration simulations suggest the band distributes energy evenly across the web, reducing the chance of catastrophic tearing when large prey strike. If true, the stabilimentum would function like the cross-bracing in a bridge, a physical, not visual adaptation. Yet the wasp spider herself is indifferent to the human debate. Her reasoning, if one can call it that, is encoded in instinct. Every morning she rebuilds her web, devouring the old silk for protein and recycling it into fresh thread. The new structure emerges with the same precision, the same glistening zigzag stitched into place like a signature. It is not an act of art or choice, but a pattern honed by evolutionary trial, one that persists precisely because it works, even if we do not yet understand why. Zooming closer, the stabilimentum gleams in the sunlight. Its density and reflectivity shift depending on the spider's age and reproductive state. Juvenile webs often lack the structure entirely, while mature females weave more elaborate, thicker bands. Some researchers have found that the presence of the zigzag correlates with higher prey capture rates, though also with increased detection by predators. Nature, as ever, operates on trade-offs. Visibility brings opportunity, but also risk. The camera follows the spider as she senses motion along one of her radial threads. The vibration is faint, a series of tremors pulsing through the silk like encoded data. Instantly, the spider comes alive. Her body pivots toward the source, her front legs extending to triangulate the signal. Then, with astonishing acceleration, she darts forward along the radial line, reaching her quarry in less than a second. A grasshopper, heavy-bodied and still half airborne, has blundered into the sticky spiral. The struggle is brief but violent. The grasshopper's powerful hind legs kick reflexively, snapping threads, but the spider moves faster. She pivots on her axis, circling the prey with precision, wrapping it in silk drawn from her spinnerets in continuous motion. The thread emerges liquid, then hardens instantly in air, each rotation layering restraint upon restraint. Within moments, the grasshopper is sealed, a compact parcel suspended in the web's lower sector. The wasp spider's venom follows, delivered through twin fangs that inject digestive enzymes to immobilize and begin internal dissolution. The meal will hang there for hours, slowly becoming liquid enough to consume. This rapid immobilization, known as rapture wrapping, is one of the wasp spider's defining tactics. The wrapping silk differs from the structural web strands. It is composed of stronger proteins that resist tearing even under sudden impact. During the wrap, the spider uses specialized leg movements, alternating rotations that spin both prey and silk simultaneously. This motion has been studied with high-speed cameras, revealing that the spider can adjust tension mid-wrap to accommodate prey size and resistance. Evolution has engineered in her not brute strength, but dynamic control. As the camera pulls back, the meadow stretches again into the horizon, but something catches the eye above, faint silver threads floating through the air like gossamer confetti. These are spiderlings, the next generation of Argiope, embarking on their first and most perilous journey. Having hatched within a silk sac at the base of the web weeks earlier, they now disperse using a method known as ballooning. Each tiny spider climbs to a high point, raises its abdomen, and releases multiple threads of silk. The strands catch thermal updrafts, forming a miniature sail that lifts the spiderling into the sky. Within seconds it is airborne, carried by invisible wind currents that can transport it across fields, rivers, even continents. Ballooning is both dispersal and lottery. Many spiderlings will never land safely. Some will perish in open water, others in hostile territories already claimed. But those who survive will anchor themselves in new habitats, weaving the first imperfect orbs that will, with growth, become masterpieces of geometry and deception. In this way, the species broadcasts itself, not through sound or light, but through wind-borne threads that drift like seeds. Back at the adult's web, a shadow passes overhead, a bird, perhaps a warbler, scanning for motion. The wasp spider flattens herself instantly against the stabilimentum, her striped body aligning perfectly with the zigzag. From a predator's viewpoint, the pattern breaks up her outline, merging body and silk into a single, ambiguous shape. Whether intentional or incidental, the effect blurs her identity, reducing detection at the very moment visibility is most dangerous. It is yet another layer in the paradox of her existence, to attract and to conceal at once. The tension between these two demands defines the wasp spider's success. A web too hidden captures little. A web too conspicuous invites destruction. The stabilimentum embodies that equilibrium, the razor-thin balance between risk and reward. Each shining zigzag is an experiment, repeated endlessly across generations, testing the limits of evolution's design. As dusk falls, the golden tones fade to silver, and the web becomes nearly invisible again. The stabilimentum, which gleamed like a beacon in daylight, now glows faintly in the twilight's blue. Moths flutter nearby, unseeing, while the spider waits motionless, her body tuned to the faintest signal. To her, the web is not an object, but an extension of perception, a sensory network woven from silk, air, and instinct. In the quiet of evening, the meadow returns to stillness. The grasshopper's wrapped body sways gently, a pendulum marking the rhythm of survival. Above, the sky carries drifting spiderlings toward new beginnings. And at the heart of the fading light, the wasp spider remains, a creature suspended between visibility and invisibility, between safety and hunger, between the demands of architecture and the logic of evolution. Her zigzag signature glows faintly in the dark. Not a decoration, not a mystery to her, but a message written in silk, that every advantage carries its price, and every signal is both invitation and risk. The morning garden is still wet from dew, each leaf tipped with droplets that glint like tiny mirrors. Sunlight spills through the hedgerows, igniting flashes of color that catch the eye. Small, deliberate splashes of orange and black moving slowly along the green. At first glance, they seem harmless, even charming. But in the coded language of nature's advertising, these bright colors mean something very specific. Do not eat. The ladybug, or more precisely the ladybird beetle, is not simply beautiful. It is broadcasting a warning, an aposematic message refined over millions of years of co-evolution between predator and prey. Across ecosystems and continents, red, orange, and black have become the universal palette of toxicity. These are the high-contrast colors of survival, a visual alarm that announces danger before contact. The ladybug's glossy shell, or elytra, is its billboard. To birds, lizards, and even spiders, it's a brand they have learned to distrust. Each spotted dome is backed by chemical defense, a bitter cocktail of alkaloid toxins and foul-smelling compounds stored beneath the bright armor. The message is clear: I am not worth your trouble. The story of this evolutionary advertisement is written in a single encounter. Imagine a young robin, newly fledged, testing its first prey. It spots a ladybug crawling along a stem and swoops down, beak snapping shut around the insect.
For a heartbeat, the scene is silent. Then the robin jerks its head violently, opens its beak, and spits the beetle out.
The ladybug tumbles to the ground, wings folded, seemingly unharmed. On the robin's tongue lingers the acrid taste of methoxypyrazine, a volatile compound so powerful that even trace amounts can trigger gag reflexes in vertebrates. The bird will not make that mistake again. One encounter is all it takes to imprint the color pattern into its memory. From then on, every orange and black insect becomes a visual echo of that unpleasant experience. Evolution has turned pain into publicity. This system of learned avoidance, a cornerstone of aposematism, functions only if predators can remember and generalize the warning. The brighter and more consistent the signal, the stronger its survival value. That is why many ladybug species converge on similar color schemes, despite belonging to different genera. Some mimic one another, amplifying the effect. A predator conditioned by a single distasteful species may spare others that share its color palette, even if their chemistry is milder. This mutual protection through shared advertisement is known as Mullerian mimicry, a biological marketing alliance written not in ink, but in pigment and poison. Yet for all its visual boldness, the ladybug's true defense lies in what happens after capture. When threatened or handled, the beetle performs a behavior called reflex bleeding. Tiny droplets of bright yellow fluid seep from the joints of its legs, spreading across the surface of its body. The liquid is not blood in the mammalian sense, but hemolymph, rich in alkaloids such as coccinylline and adeline. These chemicals are potent deterrents, bitter, sticky, and toxic to many would-be predators. Even ants, notorious for attacking almost anything, recoil from the scent. The fluid also carries antimicrobial properties, protecting the beetle from infection if its exoskeleton is breached. Reflex bleeding is thus both weapon and medicine, a pressurized warning that reinforces the visual threat. The ladybug's life, however, is not defined solely by its defenses. It is also an apex micropredator in the world of small things, a keystone player in the biological control of agricultural pests. The adults feed on aphids, scale insects and mites, but it is their larvae that drive the most intense predation. The larvae, elongated and spiny, bear little resemblance to their parents' smooth, rounded form. Their bodies are dark, speckled with orange and blue markings, a subtle continuation of the aposematic theme, but their behavior is pure aggression. Under magnification, a single ladybug larva resembles a miniature alligator, patrolling leaves with jaws agape. It moves methodically, antennae probing the air, seeking the faint scent of honeydew, the sugary waste secreted by aphids as they feed on plant sap. Once located, the larva attacks with startling speed, impaling an aphid with its mandibles and lifting it clear of the leaf surface. The victim's fluids are drained in seconds, leaving only a transparent husk. A single larva can consume hundreds of aphids over its short development. By the time it pupates, it has already reduced entire colonies, sparing plants from disease and stunted growth. This natural efficiency has made ladybugs indispensable allies in human agriculture. Long before synthetic pesticides, farmers noticed that crops infested with aphids would recover when ladybugs appeared. Modern integrated pest management, or IPM, builds on that ancient observation. By releasing ladybugs into greenhouses and fields, growers harness a living, self-sustaining form of pest control that requires no chemicals and leaves no residue. The relationship between humans and ladybugs is, in this sense, a partnership shaped by ecological wisdom rather than dominance. Each beetle represents a mobile unit of restoration, capable of restoring balance where imbalance once prevailed. The cycle of life for a ladybug follows the rhythm of the seasons. In spring, adults emerge from winter diapause, a state of suspended animation spent under bark or leaf litter, and seek out early aphid blooms. After feeding and mating, the females lay clusters of eggs directly on infested plants, ensuring that the hatching larvae have immediate access to food. The eggs, small and yellow, are themselves chemical fortresses, coated with protective compounds that deter parasitic wasps and fungal infection. Even before life begins, the ladybug's lineage is shielded by chemistry. As the larvae grow through successive molts, their predatory efficiency increases. They not only consume aphids, but also outcompete other insect larvae occupying the same niche. When food becomes scarce, they may even cannibalize unhatched eggs or weaker siblings, a ruthless but effective survival strategy that ensures only the strongest reach maturity. After several weeks, the final larval stage anchors itself to a leaf, curls inward, and begins transformation. Inside the pupal casing, enzymes dissolve the old tissues and reassemble them into the adult form. Within days, a new ladybug emerges, soft, pale, and spotless at first, its colors deepening as the cuticle hardens and the chemical defenses mature. Predators, however, continue to test the boundaries of the ladybug's warning system. Some birds have evolved partial tolerance to the toxins, allowing them to eat one or two beetles without lethal consequences. Others, like the Asian giant hornet, use their mandibles to decapitate the beetle before consuming the body, minimizing exposure to the toxic hemolymph. In evolutionary arms races, no strategy is absolute. Every defense invites counter-adaptation. Still, the majority of predators learn the same simple lesson: bright color equals bad taste. The global spread of ladybugs, both native and introduced species, illustrates another principle of biological control. In the 20th century, humans began transporting the Asian harlequin ladybird, Harmonia axyridis, around the world to fight agricultural pests. The species proved extraordinarily successful, outcompeting local ladybugs and establishing itself as a dominant predator in many ecosystems. Yet success came with side effects. The harlequin's strong alkaloids deter not just predators, but also parasites, giving it an unfair advantage and altering native food webs. Once again, even beneficial organisms can become invasive when removed from their ecological context. Nature's balance is delicate, and every intervention carries ripples. Back in the garden, the camera returns to the robin from earlier. It perches on a branch, scanning for movement, but when its eyes fall upon the orange-spotted beetle crawling below, it looks away. The lesson is remembered, encoded not in thought but in reflex. The ladybug continues unbothered, its slow progress across the leaf an unspoken victory for chemical persuasion. Around it, aphid colonies shrink, their numbers dwindling under the assault of larvae and adults alike. The ecosystem hums quietly in equilibrium, a living advertisement for coexistence between species where defense and service intertwine. As evening falls, the light softens, and the ladybug folds its wings beneath the dome of its shell. The dew returns, settling on the leaf's edge, reflecting the beetle's orange glow in miniature. It remains still, unafraid, its armor of color and chemistry standing guard through the night. Tomorrow it will resume its slow patrol, continuing the campaign its kind began millions of years ago. A campaign waged not with claws or speed, but with a simple, unforgettable promise to the eyes of the world. Beautiful things can also be untouchable. At first light, the sky above a late summer meadow is restless with motion. Wings flash like embers against the blue, thousands of them, moving not in panic but in purpose. Each flicker of orange and black belongs to a monarch butterfly, Danaus plexippus, one of the most improbable navigators on Earth. To the human eye, this migration looks fragile, impossible even, paper-thin wings defying distance, weather, and time. Yet beneath that delicate facade lies a system of biological precision so intricate it borders on encryption, a code of color, chemistry, and celestial mathematics that has carried the species across continents for countless generations. The monarch's story begins in toxicity, in the milkweed fields of summer. These plants, abundant across North America's grasslands, are both cradle and fortress. Their sap contains cardinalides, bitter-tasting cardiac glycosides capable of disrupting heart function in vertebrates. To most herbivores, the plant is poison. But the monarch caterpillar is an exception, an evolutionary specialist that has learned to sequester these chemicals rather than succumb to them. Its body converts the plant's toxins into a biochemical shield, storing them within tissues that will remain laced with defense even after metamorphosis. The result is an insect that wears its danger openly. The adult monarch's brilliant orange and black pattern is not decoration. It is a broadcast, a warning signal perfected by natural selection. Birds that attempt to eat one quickly learn the consequence. Within seconds, the predator's beak fills with bitterness, its stomach churns, and the butterfly is spat out intact but slimed with regret. From that moment onward, the colors of orange and black are filed away in the bird's memory under a single category: inedible. This visual code, known as aposematism, ensures the survival of countless monarchs that will never meet that particular bird. Evolution, in this way, teaches through collective memory. But defense is only one layer of the monarch's encryption. Beneath its warning colors lies a navigational architecture that connects forests in central Mexico to fields in Canada, a distance of nearly 4,000 kilometers, traversed by creatures that weigh less than a paperclip. No single butterfly makes the round trip. Instead, the journey unfolds across generations, a relay of instinct and inheritance where each cohort continues a path it has never traveled before. In late summer, when daylight shortens and temperatures shift, the migratory generation emerges, physically distinct from those before it. Their bodies are larger, wings longer and more durable, their metabolism tuned for endurance rather than reproduction. These Methuselah monarchs, as biologists call them, delay mating and channel all energy into flight. Guided by the position of the sun and an internal circadian clock located in the antennae, they begin a southward migration that can span entire lifetimes of other insects. The monarch's navigational system operates through a form of time-compensated sun compass. As the sun arcs across the sky, the butterfly adjusts its angle of flight to maintain a consistent direction. The circadian clock keeps track of time, compensating for the sun's movement so that the bearing remains fixed toward the southwest. This combination of light sensing and temporal regulation allows the monarch to navigate with extraordinary accuracy even as the day progresses. Yet clouds, storms, and mountains often obscure the sun. For those moments, the butterfly carries a backup, a faint sensitivity to the Earth's magnetic field. Tiny magnetite particles in its body, along with specialized photoreceptor proteins called cryptochromes, allow it to detect magnetic inclination and use it as a compass when sunlight fails. The redundancy ensures that navigation persists through uncertainty, a biological insurance policy written into the monarch's genome. From the camera's aerial perspective, we see the migration as a slow-moving river of wings, flowing southward across farmland and forest. Along the route, specific patches of habitat serve as way stations, meadows rich with nectar-producing flowers that provide essential fuel for the journey. Each stopover is a rest point, a refueling station where butterflies sip sugars to sustain their muscles for the next leg of flight. To them, these floral corridors are not random. They are messages written across the continent, each bloom a signal of survival. In recent years, conservationists have begun to recognize these way stations as critical infrastructure, ecological pit stops that connect fragmented landscapes. Roadsides planted with native wildflowers, fallow fields restored with milkweed, and community gardens bursting with asters and goldenrod all serve as modern extensions of this ancient network. The monarchs follow these cues like travelers tracing an invisible map, each stop replenishing the energy reserves that will carry them hundreds of kilometers further south. The physics of their flight is an elegant balance of endurance and efficiency. Monarchs use thermal updrafts to gain altitude, then glide for long stretches with minimal effort. Their wing beat frequency, slower than that of most butterflies, reduces energy expenditure, allowing them to cover great distances with limited fuel. On warm days, they can ride thermals to altitudes exceeding 1 kilometer, letting prevailing winds push them along vast aerial highways invisible to the human eye. This strategy, called soaring migration, mirrors that of large birds like hawks and storks, yet here it is accomplished by an insect whose entire body could reach a human fingertip. As the journey continues, the monarchs pass through changing climates and ecosystems: prairie, oak woodland, desert scrub. Each region presents new challenges: shifting wind patterns, diminishing nectar sources, and the constant threat of predation. Spiders, mantises, and dragonflies snatch stragglers mid-air, while birds continue to test the boundaries of their chemical defenses. The migration is a natural filter, ensuring that only the strongest, most efficient individuals reach the destination. But the species' strength lies not in individual survival, but in the collective, in numbers so vast that loss becomes sustainable. By late autumn, the survivors reach the high-elevation fir forests of central Mexico. The mountains rise like green fortresses, cloaked in cool mist. Here, the monarchs gather by the millions, carpeting the trees in living orange. The air vibrates faintly with the rustle of their wings, a sound like falling leaves. This is not mere rest but diapause, a state of suspended animation that allows them to survive through winter with minimal energy. The forest provides the perfect microclimate: stable temperature, high humidity, protection from frost. Within these groves, generations of monarchs converge in the same valleys year after year, guided by instincts older than memory. The mystery of how they locate these exact forests remains partly unsolved. Some scientists suspect a combination of geomagnetic cues, inherited genetic programming, and the scent of chemical markers left by previous migrations. Whatever the mechanism, it functions flawlessly. When spring arrives and the air warms, the monarchs stir. They mate, then begin the return journey northward, but they will not complete it. Their offspring will take up the mission, then their offspring in turn, a generational relay that bridges hemispheres. Each stage of the migration reaffirms a principle that transcends the individual: the continuity of information. The monarch's orange wings are not just tools of flight, they are carriers of encoded memory, of genetic instructions for navigation, of chemical warnings to predators, of environmental data written into behavior. The butterfly's entire existence is an encrypted dialogue between organism and planet, between inherited instinct and dynamic adaptation. Yet that encryption is under threat. Habitat loss, pesticide use, and climate shifts have fragmented the corridors that once guided the migration seamlessly. Without milkweed, the caterpillars starve. Without nectar flowers, the adults cannot refuel. The great aerial river grows thinner each year, its flow disrupted by the disappearance of the very way stations that sustain it. Conservation efforts now focus not just on protecting the overwintering forests, but on reweaving the entire migratory fabric, one roadside strip, one field, one backyard at a time. In the final shot, the camera follows a single monarch as it hovers over a field of late-blooming asters, wings flashing in the amber light of dusk. It drinks deeply, then rises, caught in a current of warm air that carries it upward until it becomes a speck against the horizon. Below, the flowers sway, a coded relay in the continental network that will guide it, and the generations to come toward the distant mountains. The monarch's journey is not just migration, it is communication at planetary scale. Every orange wing that lifts into the sky is part of a message millions of years in the making, a declaration that life, even in its most fragile form, can encode endurance, direction, and memory within the simplest of designs. The garden at dusk hums with a kind of electricity, a vibration that hovers between stillness and flight. As the sun drops behind the horizon, flowers that seemed motionless in daylight begin to shift in color and scent. Their ultraviolet markings, invisible to human eyes, flare into signals for the night's aerial visitors. Among the first to arrive is not a bird, but a moth that moves like one. The hummingbird hawk-moth, Macroglossum stellatarum. Its body glints bronze in the dim light, and its wings, moving too fast to see, carve invisible figure-eight loops through the air. It hovers perfectly still before a bloom, its long proboscis uncoiling to sip nectar deep within the corolla. To watch it feed is to witness the physics of precision, a balance of thrust, control, and memory compressed into a creature scarcely larger than a thumb. The hummingbird hawk-moth is one of nature's great convergences, an insect that has, through evolution, arrived at flight mechanics strikingly similar to those of the bird it mimics. Its wing beats can exceed 80 per second, generating lift through continuous rotation. Each motion traces a horizontal figure-8 pattern, allowing the moth to hover in place, fly backward, or dart sideways in an instant. Unlike most moths, which rely on gliding or erratic flapping, the hawk moth's flight is an act of constant computation. Tiny mechanosensory organs called halterers, evolutionary remnants of hind wings, detect body rotation and relay feedback to the flight muscles. The result is stability that seems impossible for something so small. From the viewer's perspective, the moth's control looks effortless. But within its body, a ballet of muscle fibers and neural circuits performs real-time corrections. Air gusts, flower movement, even the pulse of its own heartbeat can disrupt balance. Each disturbance is counted in milliseconds through micro-adjustments of the wings. High-speed video analysis reveals that these corrections occur nearly 50 times faster than the blink of a human eye. The moth is, in effect, a living drone guided by evolutionary software refined over 60 million years of flight. The precision of its hovering is not only about physics, it is also communication. In the complex economy of nectar, every bloom is both resource and territory. The hummingbird hawk moth defends its foraging sites not through aggression, but through mastery of flight. When it approaches a flower, its ability to hold position in turbulent air serves as a visible claim: this nectar is taken. Other insects, bees, wasps, smaller moths, recognize the hovering posture as dominance. The signal is subtle but effective. In the quiet currency of nocturnal competition, control itself becomes a deterrent. As night deepens, a gust of wind passes through the garden, shaking the blossoms on their stems. The moth's body wavers but never drifts. Its head remains locked onto the flower as the wings blur faster, compensating for the instability. This behavior demonstrates an extraordinary feature known as head stabilization, a reflex common among flying animals, but perfected here to a fine art. Tiny sensory hairs on the antennae detect changes in airflow, and the moth's brain uses that input to command wing muscles to counteract the disturbance. The result is a form of active suspension, an insect maintaining a fixed gaze in a shifting world. But the hawk moth's genius is not limited to the mechanics of flight. It extends into cognition. Each individual follows a foraging strategy known as traplining, a learned route connecting a specific sequence of flowers. Rather than wandering randomly, the moth memorizes which blooms offer nectar and in what order they refill. It then visits them cyclically, like a postal worker following a familiar route. This trapline memory minimizes energy expenditure and reduces competition, allowing the moth to exploit resources efficiently without revisiting empty flowers. Studies have shown that the hummingbird hawk moth's spatial memory rivals that of vertebrates. When experimenters move artificial flowers or alter their nectar quality, the moth adapts, recalibrating its route after just a few visits. Its brain, a structure smaller than a grain of rice, integrates visual landmarks, time of day, and olfactory cues into a mental map. In this way, each individual maintains a personal territory of knowledge rather than land, an intellectual form of ownership written in neural patterns. The next scene unfolds under the cold light of dawn. The moth, still active from the night's foraging, hovers before a cluster of lavender blooms. The air has grown unstable. A low breeze stirs the blossoms in unpredictable arcs. Suddenly, a wasp darts in from the side, drawn by the same floral scent. For an instant, both insects occupy the same space, their wings intersecting in a shimmer of motion. The hawk moth reacts faster than any vertebrate could. It reverses direction mid-air, its body tilting backward while its proboscis retracts like a whip. The wasp overshoots, confused by the sudden absence of its rival. Within a second, the moth reclaims its position, hovering once more before the flower, as if nothing had happened. This ballet of evasion is not only a survival mechanism, but a performance, a signal broadcast to competitors that precision and agility win access. Evolution has sculpted every detail of this insect's anatomy for such encounters. Its thorax houses some of the most powerful flight muscles relative to body weight in the animal kingdom, accounting for nearly half its total mass. Its compound eyes, composed of thousands of ommatidia, allow high-resolution tracking even in dim light. Each facet is tuned to detect motion across microsecond intervals, enabling the moth to predict rather than merely react to changes in its environment. This predictive ability is key to both feeding and defense. While hovering, the moth must keep its proboscis, an organ longer than its entire body, precisely aligned with the flower's nectar tube. A deviation of even a few millimeters would break suction or cause the proboscis to bend, wasting energy. Yet it maintains alignment perfectly, no matter how the flower sways. The moth's choice of flowers is another layer of adaptation. It favors blossoms rich in sucrose, whose narrow corolla tubes discourage less specialized visitors. The length of the hawk-moth's proboscis, often exceeding 4 centimeters, allows it to access nectar beyond the reach of bees or short-tongued flies. This specialization makes it an important pollinator for deep-tubed plants, continuing a coevolutionary partnership that has persisted since the late Miocene epoch. Each feeding event transfers pollen grains between flowers, sustaining genetic diversity across landscapes that might otherwise remain isolated. Trapline memory also influences ecosystem stability. By visiting flowers in predictable circuits, the hawk moth ensures regular pollen transfer across consistent intervals. Plants along its route evolve to match this rhythm, timing nectar production to coincide with the moth's returns. The result is a feedback loop of mutual adaptation, an alliance maintained not through direct cooperation, but through convergent benefit. The landscape itself becomes patterned by invisible flight paths, carved by memory rather than by trails. As dawn brightens, the camera follows the moth through its final feeding rounds. The first rays of sunlight glint off its wings, revealing a subtle spectrum of bronze, gold, and grey. In daylight, the resemblance to a hummingbird becomes uncanny. Its rapid wing beats create a faint hum, its hovering silhouette almost indistinguishable from the bird it echoes. This mimicry, though unintentional, may deter some predators, exploiting their learned avoidance of fast, strong flyers. For an insect vulnerable by size, resemblance becomes an accidental advantage. Eventually, the moth drifts away from the garden, following a trajectory only it remembers. Behind it, the flowers tremble, their nectar reserves depleted. By nightfall, they will refill, ready for the next circuit. The hawk moth will return almost to the minute, guided by a combination of internal timing and learned geography. To human eyes, its flight may seem random, a blur moving from one bloom to another. But within that blur lies order, a memory of space and reward so precise that even modern navigation systems struggle to match its efficiency. The hummingbird hawk moth embodies a paradox of scale, an organism that weighs less than a paperclip, yet operates with the precision of engineered flight control and the intelligence of spatial memory. Its traplines are not drawn on maps, but written into the air itself, ephemeral yet consistent, connecting flowers like data points in a living network. In every motion, from the micro-tremor of a hovering wing to the lightning dodge of a wasp encounter, the moth demonstrates what evolution achieves through iteration and necessity, mastery of complexity disguised as simplicity. As evening returns and the garden slips again into violet light, the hum resumes. The moth hovers before a bloom, the figure 8 of its wings invisible but implied by the stillness it creates. In that moment, motion and memory merge, an insect rewriting the air, one flower at a time in patterns only it can read. The heat of midday presses down upon the wetland like an invisible hand, drawing shimmer from the water and mirages from the reeds. The air hums with hidden life, frogs beneath the mats of duckweed, damselflies flickering along the stems, and the restless tremor of wings too fast to see. Above this mosaic of motion, a flash of color ignites against the sun. It is a male scarlet dragonfly, Crocothemis erythraea, patrolling his domain. His body glows with the intensity of molten metal, red not by pigment, but by structure and reflection, his wings veined with gold that flickers each time they catch the light. He is both predator and signal, a living beacon suspended in the glare. In the still air, his wings beat nearly 30 times per second, yet there is no sound. The dragonfly's flight is engineered for silence, a combination of strength and control unmatched in the insect world. Each of his 4 wings moves independently, allowing him to hover motionless one moment and dart laterally the next. This decoupled motion produces complex aerodynamic forces, lift from the forewings, thrust from the hindwings, each acting in counterphase to stabilize the body. With this system, he can reverse direction mid-air, fly backward, or hold steady against gusts. What appears to be effortless hovering is in truth a continual recalibration of vortices and tension, a conversation with the fluid dynamics of the sky. The dragonfly's patrol is not random. It traces invisible boundaries that only he perceives, a territory defined not by scent or sound, but by geometry and motion. Every few seconds he hovers at a fixed height above the pond, surveying from a vantage point that gives him control over both airspace and reflection. His compound eyes, among the most sophisticated in the animal kingdom, dominate his head like twin domes of bronze. Each eye contains nearly 30,000 individual facets, or ommatidia, each capturing a narrow slice of the world. Together they form an almost spherical field of vision, 360 degrees of awareness. There is no blind spot, no surprise attack. The dragonfly's brain merges these countless fragments into a continuous visual field, one capable of detecting the polarized shimmer of a rival's wings or the minute flicker of a passing insect half a meter away. When another male enters this airspace, the scarlet flares instantly. The intruder sees it too. A burst of crimson light reflecting off chitin, flashing like a semaphore. The confrontation begins not with contact, but with color. In dragonfly communication, hue is both weapon and declaration. The scarlet male's body functions as a living flag, its brightness amplified by specialized nanostructures beneath the cuticle that scatter light into wavelengths of red. These structures intensify with age and dominance. Younger or subordinate males appear duller, their colors washed in brown or orange. Thus, every flash becomes an honest signal, a visual announcement of fitness, speed, and ownership. The brighter the male, the less likely conflict will escalate into combat. The physics of light, shaped by evolution, has replaced violence with persuasion. The air above the water becomes a stage for negotiation. The resident male hovers vertically, abdomen raised, wings forward. The intruder mirrors him. For a few moments they circle, each adjusting altitude and distance, testing resolve. Then, as suddenly as it began, the intruder veers away, repelled not by blows, but by confidence expressed in posture and hue. The resident returns to his patrol line, his victory silent but absolute. Yet not all movement in his domain is about rivalry. When the dragonfly hunts, his flight transforms from showmanship to precision. Prey detection begins in the compound eyes, which can register motion changes smaller than a single degree of arc, the equivalent of tracking a moving grain of sand against the horizon. But he does not chase, he intercepts. Once the prey's trajectory is calculated, the dragonfly adjusts his own course to the exact point where the paths will cross, a feat of ballistic computation carried out entirely in his nervous system. His brain, smaller than a sesame seed, performs predictive geometry at lightning speed. By the time a mosquito realizes it has been targeted, it is already trapped in spiny legs that close like spring-loaded cages. Hovering again, the dragonfly feeds mid-air, his mandibles slicing the prey cleanly before he resumes patrol. Nothing is wasted. The same precision that guides his flight controls every aspect of his existence, from hunting to mating to communication. Even rest is strategic. He lands on exposed reeds, his red body catching the sun, signaling ownership to all who pass. In this shimmering display, physics and biology merge seamlessly into strategy. As afternoon stretches toward evening, the air thickens with other flyers. Damselflies hover low, their wings flashing with blue light. Beetles drift just above the surface, skating on tension. Among them, another species appears, the hummingbird hawk-moth, familiar from earlier scenes, its bronze wings a blur as it hovers over a patch of flowering rush. The dragonfly's eyes register it instantly, a large moving target hovering near his patrol line. To him it is not prey, too large, too fast, but a foreign presence, something that does not belong in his coded airspace. The moth, intent on its feeding, holds its position with astonishing steadiness. Its flight pattern, figure 8 loops, generates a constant hum. To the dragonfly, this vibration is an alien signal, continuous, rhythmic, utterly unlike the start-stop movements of insects within his hierarchy. For a brief moment, the two hover within the same frame, predator and pollinator, both masters of flight, each broadcasting dominance in a different language. The dragonfly flashes scarlet, the moth responds with motion, hovering in perfect control. Then a gust of wind sweeps through the reeds, disrupting the balance. The dragonfly darts upward, the moth backward. Their trajectories cross but never collide. Within seconds, they vanish from one another's perception. Two systems of communication intersecting and dissolving in the same air. Back in the quiet after the gust, the dragonfly reclaims his position. He returns to the central axis of his patrol route, the same circuit he has flown for hours, driven by instinct and algorithm. Territoriality in dragonflies is not static. It is performance, reinforced through continual patrols. Every lap of flight is a reaffirmation of dominance, a visual message to rivals and potential mates alike. The boundaries exist only as long as he maintains them. Stop flying and the territory evaporates. The scarlet male's life is ruled by thermodynamics as much as by competition. His coloration, vivid under sunlight, also assists in heat regulation. The pigments absorb infrared radiation, helping to maintain flight temperature within a narrow optimal range. Too cold and muscle contractions weaken, too hot and enzymes denature. On cooler mornings, he faces the sun directly, spreading his wings to warm the flight muscles through conduction. On scorching afternoons, he orients his body vertically, reducing surface exposure. Even his perch choices are mathematical, optimizing heat gain and visibility simultaneously. Around the pond, the ecological ripple of his presence extends beyond territory and predation. By feeding on mosquitoes and midges, he shapes insect populations, indirectly influencing plant pollination and aquatic nutrient cycles. His larvae, aquatic nymphs known as naiads, continue this role below the surface, ambushing tadpoles and mosquito larvae with extendable jaws that strike in fractions of a second. In every stage of life, the dragonfly is both regulator and participant in the energy flow of the wetland. As the day wanes, the sun drops low and the scarlet tones shift toward crimson. His wings now glow translucent amber, catching the final rays like stained glass. The air cools and the frequency of flight slows. He perches one last time on a reed stalk, facing the fading light. The territorial patrols are done. Soon the night's hunters, bats, frogs and owls, will rise. The dragonfly's eyes, adapted for bright daylight, will lose their sharpness in the gloom, and he will become vulnerable. Yet even now, his silhouette remains striking, a vertical shard of red against the mirror of the pond. The camera lingers on the reflection. In the rippling water, two images merge, the scarlet dragonfly and the pale shimmer of the moon beginning to rise. Above the surface, flight has ceased. Below, nymphs stir in the silt. The cycle continues unseen, the next generation waiting to inherit both the territory and the code of movement that defines it. In the world of the scarlet dragonfly, communication is written not in sound or scent, but in the physics of light and motion. Every flash of wing, every angle of hover, every territorial arc is a signal, a visual language that governs competition, courtship, and survival. It is a language understood only by those who can read the air, where every vibration has meaning and every gesture carries consequence.